Well, hello, everybody, and welcome into the Shelby County High School Football Pregame Show, live from two destinations tonight. Got me right here at Herdmont Park. The Oak Mountain Eagles going to host Briarwood in a fun 280 area rivalry. You got Andrew over there at Spain Park, just a few miles down the road, as the Spain Park Jaguars going to kick off the season tonight against Sparkman in a big matchup to get some confidence early in the season for the Jaguars as well. And those two games that we're at, two of 9 matchups that we've got taking place tonight on the opening Friday night, I should say, of the 2024 high school football season. So a lot of excitement tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a county battle right here. We've got some other exciting matchups taking place tonight. We're going to break all of them down on tonight's pregame show. 9 total matchups that we're going to dive into, and we'll start with the AISA and ACSC games here in just a minute. Work our way up all the way to our game of the week right here between Briarwood and Oak Mountain, and what's sure to be an exciting matchup. So, Andrew, I unfold all that for you. We look at the 9 matchups tonight. What is it that you're most excited about going into this opening Friday night of the high school football season?
I think I'm most excited to see Calera because I feel like there's a lot of unknowns going on with them as they take on Northridge. We've heard a lot of hype about what Scott Riles has been able to do since he's gotten there, but now is really when the rubber meets the road. Now is when we're going to be able to see whether the offense and the defense have taken those strides that they need to break that long winless run and be able to get back in the win column. I think this game against Northridge is going to be a solid chance for them, but it's definitely going to be something interesting to see. Tons of teams across the county are kind of in the same boat where we know a little bit of what to expect, but you obviously don't know exactly until everything gets going on the field. So this is when that hype starts becoming real action on tape, and this is the most exciting part of the season because of that.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a new start to the season. We've got a lot of excitement around the show, too, and I want to get the fans engaged this year. We've got comments. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right now. So 3 different streaming platforms. Usually we're just on Facebook Live. So a lot of excitement this year as we can really make this a little bit more of an engaging show. So if we're talking about your team, jump into the comments, ask some questions, and we'll be glad to answer as best we can throughout the show. We just want to have fun. We'll feature those questions as they pop up on the screen as well. So jump in tonight as we talk about your game. And like I said, we've got 9 to talk about, and we're going to jump right in and start with the AISA and ACSC matchups with Cornerstone and Evangel both in action tonight. And we're going to work our way up to our game of the week right here with Oak Mountain and Briarwood. So stay tuned throughout. Have fun. Engage with us. We're going to answer your questions and have some fun with this on the opening night of the high school football season. But Andrew, let's jump right in to those 2 matchups in the AISA and ACSC. And I think we look at Evangel and we look at Cornerstone, both those games, and I think we expect wins from both of our local teams there as they Evangel plays game 2 and Cornerstone opens the season tonight in those 2 games.
Absolutely. I feel like it's the perfect storm for both of these teams to get a really good start against a couple of teams that have been struggling. Lighthouse losing their opener in a blowout fashion to Tennessee Heat, and Abbeville Christian just coming off of a really disappointing 1-win season over up there in the AISA 11-man division. But for Evangel, it's going to look a little bit different. Obviously, with 11 players on the field, taking the field at Larry Simmons Stadium to take advantage of that extra.
A cool environment, though. That's a cool opportunity they get tonight. Being an 8-man team, normally playing on a smaller field where you got lawn chairs set up along the sidelines, a passionate fan base, and now they get to take it to a newly renovated Larry Simmons Stadium tonight.
Yeah, so those renovations especially make it really exciting. Such a historic part of Alabaster that Evangel now gets to take a part in. So going to be a really fun opportunity for them. And then Cornerstone obviously hitting the road at Lighthouse as well, looking to continue that dominant 8-man run for them as well. Like you said, I expect big showings from both of them. Evangel's offense looked really good against Arundel Parrott a couple weeks ago up in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It was a little bit of a different feel having an 8-man game on an 11-man field up there in Gatlinburg. So maybe some things aren't as translatable, but I know a good Evangel offense and defense when I see it, and they have both of that as well. And if Cornerstone has the continuity that we all believe that they do from last year's state championship team, then I really don't see a reason why they can't run the table yet again this year.
Yeah, I think we both think both of these teams are going to win tonight. Evangel, a lot of talent, some new faces working into the lineup this year. but a team that's going to compete for another 8-man national championship, and they've shown they can play in those 11-man games as well. And Cornerstone, just about everybody back from their AISA 8-man state championship last year. They take on Lighthouse tonight, and this is a Cornerstone team I'm expecting big things from. And I think we both kind of feel that they're going to be the front runner to win another 8-man state championship there in the AISA. So let's jump ahead to our AHSAA games tonight. We start with Vincent. We're going to work our way up from there. The Yellow Jackets in Class 2A. Head coach Lucas Weatherford has this team on a playoff streak right now coming into the season. Back-to-back years they've made the playoffs. The schedule, though, this year, very challenging. Their best chance at a win overall across the entire schedule probably comes tonight. I think they're going to win several more games than that, don't get me wrong. But Winterboro, a team that they should be able to beat tonight with the talent that they have back there at Vincent and the confidence that they should have going into the season, especially a team that last year was right on the cusp of breaking through. This year, I think we both feel like they have that potential, and I think it starts in game one. Interested to see with all your conversations, Andrew, with Coach Weatherford and the team heading into the season, what you think of this Vincent team, especially going into this matchup with Winterboro tonight.
I think they're excited and ready to take on the challenges this season. I think the one thing that's been a constant internal topic within there is, yes, they are in a difficult region in Class 2A. Reclassification definitely dealt them a difficult hand, but they believe that everybody else is looking at them like one of those difficult teams within that region. And they should be. It's a top 10 team coming into the preseason. Now a multi-year streak in the playoffs. Just a really good streak of consistency that they've got built up over there at Vincent. And I think they should definitely expect some big things. And it starts with this Winterboro game, a game that when they were figuring some stuff out last year, they still won 29-0. Casey Fields just a second game as a starter back then. Now he's back fully healthy and seems to be really now stepping out of Blake Allen's shadow. He kind of mentioned at Media Day some of the pressures that he faced, just living up to such a historic quarterback there over at Vincent. Now he feels a lot more comfortable within his offense and has some continuity with his receivers, looking at Phoenix Maxwell, Aiden Poe, Tay Robertson coming in as well. And the backfield looks sharp too. You lose by Kellis Robertson, but Jaden Roberts really showed some good flashes last year as well. Stick a few returning offensive linemen in there, and you've got a really good situation for them going over there on offense, and a defense that's going to be captained by Grayson Gold. You feel really good about that. Yeah, an all-state Vincent linebacker, something that you don't normally hear very often, but it's a testament to what he's done over the past few seasons. So really well-deserved for him. He's going to be spearheading this offense now this year, and I think that Vincent secondary is going to start locking down on some receivers and prove to be a strength ultimately of this team. So I think it starts here today against Winterboro. I definitely predict a win, and them that they can use that momentum going into a difficult game next week against BB Comer and then straight the region play. Yeah,
it's going to be an exciting stretch for Vincent all year long. But tonight, the athletes, I'm excited to see them on display. They're going to be a lot of them playing both ways. And I think you're going to see a lot of talent out there on the field for Vincent tonight. Some faces that you may not recognize, too, stepping up. I think a guy like Phoenix Maxwell is really going to have an impact this year across the board. It's going to be a big-time playmaker for them throughout the season. Kind of go-to person there as an athlete for the Yellow Jackets. Expect them to walk away with a win tonight, start 1-0 there against Winterboro on the road to open the season. And that takes us up to the Shelby County Wildcats, also on the road tonight to open the season. They're at Lincoln, and this is a Shelby County team that you look at them getting into the playoffs last year, obviously a positive thing there, but with only 2 wins, how can they improve off of that going into this year to be a team that I think ultimately has a chance to compete for one of the top 3-4 spots in this region with Montevallo? My bold prediction was Shelby County and Montevallo both make the playoffs from their region this year, being in the same region in Class 5A. But this is a Shelby County team that 2 of the last 3 years they've been in the playoffs, but they haven't had a winning season since 2020. This is the type of year when you look at their region, they could have a winning season this year if they have that belief going into the year, but it's got to start in game 1. If they struggle with Lincoln tonight, that's going to prove to be a long road ahead for them. So, Andrew, what's your expectation for Shelby County going into the season, into this matchup with Lincoln, and what they've got around them talent-wise? Some pretty good returning players back this year.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you look back at the defense. You got Cooper Pennington up there. Eli Carlisle as well. You got to replace Micah Swain in the secondary, but it still looks pretty solid back there as well. So you got a handful of stars coming in for them as well, but it's looking really thin outside of that. Ellison was not very clear who we would be seeing at some of those starting positions on multiple occasions this summer. So we're going to be learning a lot about this team as we go along. But last year, that was a defense that I think really kept them in quite a few situations. But at the end of the day, it was all about wanting to take it and take advantage of those opportunities and turn them into a few more wins. That ultimately didn't end up happening, and this team, granted, still made the playoffs, but did so with a 2-8 record. So I think it's the same situation this year. The offense definitely still has a few key pieces in there this year. A little bit of uncertainty as to who will be the quarterback and some of those other positions as well. You lose an all-county talent and Bradley Horton back at running back. But it's ultimately going to come down to if they want to put the pieces together and use those culture improvements that they've been preaching on all summer to really start putting something together on offense, because that's really been a struggle for them the last few seasons, especially through the air. And I think if they're able to at least get a little bit of that, they'll start making a little bit of momentum back towards where they want to be.
Yeah, and I think this is one of a couple of games tonight. Pelham Pell City, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, another one. It's a game that's a complete toss-up to me. A 4-6 Lincoln team from last year, 2-9 Shelby County team. I think going into this season, these two teams pretty even on paper, and so this could go a long, long way for building that momentum if you want to have some success in region play this year. So we'll see how that one unfolds tonight at Lincoln as the Shelby County Wildcats hit the road. I think they're going to win. Andrew, I don't know if you gave your prediction there or not, but what's your expectation there?
I do think that Lincoln's going to end up pulling it out just because I need to see it from Shelby County.
Yeah.
I really do feel like I need to see those results come on the field, and it hasn't happened the last few years, quite frankly. So use that as motivation if you want to, Shelby County. But I do think at the end of the day, Lincoln will pull this out.
Yeah, and that's the same for me. I do think they need to prove it, but I just think there's something about this offseason. This is their shot. This is their chance to really grow. Ellison has been there long enough now that the team should be fully bought in and should also have a good understanding of the system they're going to be running and enough players back that should have some expectations there. I think they're going to have a pride about them tonight. It's going to be a tough battle. It could go either way, but I think this is a Shelby County team that's going to come out motivated and ready to win that one tonight. So that takes us to the 6A classification, where we've got a couple of big games taking place tonight. And we're going to start with Calera and Northridge. And while I jump into this segment, I'm going to tell you about one of our sponsors who's sponsoring the show this year, and specifically Calera and our SCR Stars of the Week segment, which is going to start next week on the taped show. While I do that, let me remind you, jump in the comments the rest of the way. We've got some big matchups we're going to be talking about. We want to make sure we answer your questions. We get engaging there too. So make sure you jump in the comments. We'll display those throughout the video. But I want to tell you about Bertoloni's in Calera, a star there in that city, something Calera is going to hope that they can be this year as well in the city of Calera. But Bertoloni's is one of the top Italian places you can visit, not only in Shelby County, but across this state. Located at 209 Supercenter Drive in Calera, Sonia Bertoloni and her family, they've been bringing you authentic Italian cuisine to Shelby County for many years. They've got dine-in, cozy ambiance there, such a nice setting for a date night or just a comfortable meal as you head into these cooler fall months coming up. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there, and this is the kind of place you want to go to get that good warm dish that's going to warm your soul, and that's what you can get at Bertoloni's, a place that's been voted best date night, best nice restaurant, dining experience, upscale restaurant. So it's a place you want to visit down there in Calera. They've got a full bar, craft cocktails. They've got delicious pizzas. You expect the chicken parmesan, the lasagna, the spaghetti, and all that. But look at their pizzas. Nashville hot chicken pizza, personal favorite of mine. Buffalo chicken pizza as well, as I love my spicy chicken. Kind of like George and Seinfeld. Alec likes his chicken spicy. But a lot of different things, and you can't forget about the cakes there that they've been bringing you for a long time, the strawberry in particular, but seasonal flavors as well. So make sure to visit them there next to Walmart in Calera. You can reach them at 205-664-8780, 205-664-8780 to place a to-go order in their big family takeout meals as well. So let's jump in now, talk about Calera, their expectation tonight as they take on Northridge in, Andrew, a big game for momentum. An 0-10 team last year in Calera. Now you start a new era, and Scott Riles coming in to take over. So what's the expectation like? How can they get to a team that's going to compete in what's going to be a very challenging region in Class 6A with all of our local 6A teams in that region? What's going to be the thing tonight that you would be looking for if you're a Calera fan going into this matchup that can bode well for them for the rest of the season?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned Italian over there with Bertoloni's, because anybody who's had Italian knows that you can have all the ingredients in the world, but it takes a really good chef to take it to the next level. and that's a lot of what you saw last year.
You're stealing the puns right out from under me there. Dang, coming hot tonight, Andrew.
You're gonna have to keep up with me, Alec. This is gonna have to be a thing. But that's a lot of what we saw from Calera last season. There was definitely some talent in there, a lot more potential than you would think from an 0-10 team, but just weren't really able to put it together. Either a lot of young pieces or some pieces that weren't quite in the right places, weren't quite developed as well as they maybe should have been. Now you bring in Scott Riles, and ever since that he has come in, all the players have just been behind him, been really motivated to work for him and get to the best of their abilities, and it just really feels like there's a big sense of unity around this team that they really need going into the year. So I'm looking most to the defense, because obviously both sides of the ball need to improve from county worst numbers last year. I do think the offense can step up a little bit just by the nature of A.J. Johnson entering his second year and Demetrius Davis taking charge in the backfield. But defense is a little undersized, going for some speed on there as well. Kind of try the same thing as the offense, try to get after the ball and really just try to cause some chaos. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to have to need some physicality in defense in order for you to be able to stop the ball. I'm looking for that tonight. I'm looking for if that aggression is going to turn into a smaller number on the scoreboard on defense, and ultimately one where the offense can come in, step up, and take advantage of the opportunities that the defense gives them.
Yeah, I look at this Northridge team, a team that was 3-7 last year, won their final 2 games. And that's kind of what I look at and go back to is they gained a little bit of confidence. Some of those younger players that were returning for this year's team got a little bit of confidence late in the year, whereas Calera finished 0-10. They're going to be searching for that confidence early in the season. So something for Northridge to build off of. I think that could be what's the difference tonight, just that little bit of extra, because it should be a close game on paper. But there's just a lot of rebuilding to do at Calera. It seems like every year they've got the athletes, but they're all young. And so this year the fun thing's going to be to see, can they grow into what they need to be once they hit region play? This is a great opportunity for them. And Scott Riles, a guy 185 and 111 in his career. So he's got a pretty good track record when you look at what he's been able to do at other stops. And a 21-17 showing in the postseason. So he's gotten to the postseason. Quick math there, 48 times? So 38 times. Yeah, so math not the strong suit, obviously. But to get there that many times, to have the success you've had, can he bring that over to Calera in a challenging position right now where they're searching for some of that momentum? We saw Jason Hamlin get this team to that level before he departed last summer. And I think this year, with the stability going into the season, is going to be a big thing for them. That was the tricky part. Last year, they lose their coach right before the season, and you're kind of reeling at that point, just hoping to get through the year. This year, they've got the stability. They've got a coach who believes in them, and I think that's going to make a big-time difference. I do think Northridge is going to walk away with the win tonight, but as this season goes along, I'm telling you, this Calera team is going to get better and better, and the future could be very, very bright. They're one of the largest and fastest-growing cities in the county, so the athletes are there. It's just a matter of developing them from the youth up to the high school level, and I think we're going to start to see that throughout the year. That takes us to the Pelham matchup as they hit the road to take on Pell City tonight. Mentioned it a little bit earlier. This is a game that I think is going to be extremely tight. I think this could be one of the better games of opening night this year. So before we dive in and talk about that one, I want to tell you a little bit about 3D Air Services. They've proudly called Shelby County home since 2005. More than just a trusted HVAC company, they're your neighbors, they're your friends, and they're supporters, supporting a lot of local high school football programs this year, and they're going to support Pelham on this football show throughout the season as well. Proud sponsors of the Pelham Panthers. They believe in power of teamwork, dedication, and community spirit, something you'll see from Pelham and several other teams throughout this year, and those are values they carry with them through every job that they do. 3D Air Services, LLC, your trusted neighbor, keeping Shelby County comfortable one home at a time. Reach out to our friend Jay Carr with 3D Air Services, 205-664-3501, 205-664-3501, or 3dairservices.com. So make sure to visit them. We're hitting those cold months soon. Make sure that heater's ready to go as soon as you crank it on. Obviously, in Alabama, we know that the air is going to stay on a little bit longer than it needs to across other places of the country, too. So get that air tuned up as well throughout these hot last couple of months that we have. But for the Pelham Panthers, they're hoping to start hot. They want to get off to a hot, fast start tonight against Pell City, hitting the road. This is a team that loses starting quarterback Clayton Maines. They're going to lose a lot of other talent, Andrew. So why should we believe in them going into the season? I know they've got a lot of athletes, but who is it or what is it about this team that can make them successful with some of the question marks they have?
Yeah, and it's those question marks that are going to be the big ones that need to be answered tonight. There's a lot of impactful seniors that need to be replaced throughout this unit, something that they also had to do last year after a big class of 2023 left as well. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, they can take solace in the running game with Caleb Porter sitting there with some experience backing up Mike Dujon. We saw him make some key plays last season throughout the year. So I think that he's definitely going to be one to watch as well. And you've got a really young receiving core that got thrown into the fire last year, quite frankly, between Marcus Arnold, Tristan Darden, and Jacob Gibbs as well. Gibbs coming back from an injury specifically. But all these guys have experience beyond their years, and it's going to be something that they're going to look to take into the year for the offense. Defense got some senior leaders on there, but not a whole lot, just a handful on there over on that unit. And it's really going to be about who can step up on either side of the ball tonight. We're going to be looking for a lot of breakout stars tonight. And that's really going to be the key is whoever steps up the most, I think, between these two teams, because Pell City comes in with a lot of questions as well. Whoever comes in ready to make that statement is going to be who walks away with that victory.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is a Pelham team that finished 5-5 last year, had some injury things they were dealing with Maines at the end of the season, but just felt like a team that was a whole lot better than a 5-5 football team. So that's what I'm interested to see. They lost some close battles last year. There was some inconsistent play from week to week. So I want to see that consistency. I want to see them start fast tonight and carry that throughout the season. This is a team ultimately, you look at this region, Spain Park, Helena, Benjamin Russell, Chelsea, Calera, and Chilton County. This is a team in Pelham that I think can compete with Chelsea for that fourth spot, possibly slide in to battle with Helena and Benjamin Russell for that third and fourth spot, as we think Spain Park's kind of going to be the front runner in the region. But Pelham, they've got the athletes. The athletes are there. The talent's there. They've got a coach and head coach, Mike Vickery, that knows what he's doing and is able to coach these guys and prepare them well for the game. I just want to see things consistently work out throughout the year. But this is a Pell City team that's also reeling this year with Rush Probst and all the drama that happened there in the offseason, 2-8 a year ago. This is a team that you look at what they've got. They've got a good coach coming in, a former Alabama football player. They've got some talent there, and they've been working hard. I think they're going to put together a good team this year. But in this game, with little to play off of so far this season, it's going to be intriguing. This is one that both of these teams want to win because of how much unknown they're going to have from each side going into that matchup. Ultimately, I have no clue which way it's going to go, but I think we both went with the home team going into the game in our pregame show earlier this week. So I'll stick with the Pelham Panthers there, but it could be a toss-up at the end of the night. That takes us to the Chelsea Hornets, jumping down from 7A to 6A this year. They've got a battle at home against Mobile Christian tonight, and this is a Chelsea team, Andrew, that you look at what they've got this year, a lot of key pieces that they're going to be replacing. Defense should be pretty good, but when you look at that offensive side of the football, this is a team that they lose a lot of talent. Receiver, running back, quarterback. There's so many things that they're having to replace there. How good are they going to be up front on the offensive line? So when you go into this game against Mobile Christian, seems like on paper a game they should win. What are you wanting from Chelsea, or what are you looking for from Chelsea going into this matchup as far as what can they do that's going to give you hope in them the rest of the year?
I think it's going to start with the defense, because that's where all of the hype and all the promises have
Yeah.
been placed on for this team. A really aggressive upfront team with some lockdown secondary players as well. I think it's going to start with them setting the tone, and the offense is going to have to follow at least for the first few games while they get a little bit under their belts. Obviously, this team has gotten some time in 7-on-7s and some other activities just to be able to get together. But we're having to replace your quarterback midway through spring. Definitely a difficult situation for them. With Miller Bowman, definitely a really interesting prospect that they've got there who could do some interesting things for them at that spot. But I'm interested to see mostly how closely this offense looks to last year. We know they don't really have an Emerson Russell type back there right now, that short, shifty back who can really make some plays on the outside as well as in the middle. But quite frankly, there's not many who can be that Emerson Russell type. Even if you look around the county, he was kind of a unique specimen for them back there. So maybe look for a little bit more in between the tackles. Have some separate pass catching backs as well, while also still trying to get some of the work done in the air. But it's going to be really interesting to see how this unit develops and how quickly they develop, because I think that last part of how quickly they develop is going to determine their trajectory for this season, whether it's going to be the year where they get back to the playoffs like they really hope it is, or if it's going to be maybe a next year type situation.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest benefit they have is the region they've played in the last couple of years. I mean, Class 7A Region 3, when you go back down to 6A, seems like a cakewalk almost. And I'm not saying 6A is easy, because 6A is right there, and the region they're going to be competing in is going to be very challenging. But I think this is the first time that Chelsea can say they've got a lot of confidence going into the season, even with a lot of those key pieces that they're going to be missing. You look at it going back down to 6A, I think that plays a big role for them. And tonight they should win. This shouldn't be a problem for them to walk away with a victory tonight. So I think you're going to see Chelsea start 1-0. Then the season's going to start to get more and more interesting as it goes along, with that schedule getting more and more challenging. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch Chelsea, though, this year, and we're going to have some fun about. I am so looking forward to that region in Class 6A with all of our county teams competing for playoff spots. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think Benjamin Russell could ultimately end up being the best team or one of the better teams in the region as well. So it's just going to be a whole lot of fun to watch that one unfold throughout the year. And we'll see Pelham and Chelsea. We just talked about them, Calera as well, if they're going to be able to lock down one of those playoff spots. But Andrew, I think the team that we have the most hope in that region is the one we're about to talk about now. The game that you're at, Spain Park hosting Sparkman tonight. The Jags, they've got a new Clemson commit at quarterback, and Brock Bradley committed just a couple of days ago. And they've got talent on this year's team. There are some key pieces that they're going to be missing: defensive front, wide receiver, but the quarterback and running back tandem is going to be very, very strong. Lots of energy between CJ Cowley, Dakari Shanks, and Brock Bradley, and a lot of talent. But before we talk about them and this big matchup, we got to tell you about Scooter's Coffee, with locations in Inverness and Chelsea. Chelsea right there next to Buffalo Wild Wings. Inverness right next to Chipotle and Home Depot. Just delicious treats for you as you go into the fall season. Their fall menu's out now. Skip Starbucks, skip those other places, drive through, get it quick, and be on the go with Scooter's Coffee. You look at some of the things they've got out right now. Their pumpkin spice latte, of course, it's pumpkin spice season. How can you not be ready for the PSL at this point in time? Especially get that little hint of fall right now. This first week of the football season is the perfect time. But other things that you can look at, they've got a new apple menu out with a lot of different energy drinks and apple drinks that you can try out. Their Autumn Caramel Crunch, coffee blender, smoothies, teas, and they've got a lot of great baked goods as well. Pumpkin cheesecake bites, breakfast burritos, omelet bites, cookies, anything you could imagine. You can drive through, get it quick, right there at Scooters. They're going to have your fall fix all season long, and it's going to be personally made by a local owner, and it's just incredible to see what they're doing there at the Inverness location and at the Chelsea location there on Highway 280. So make sure to stop by Scooter's Coffee on 280 throughout this football season to get your game day energy ready on Friday nights or on your way out of town if you're headed down to Auburn or Tuscaloosa for the big college football games as well. But that takes us to Spain Park. This is a team, and I'm so excited to talk about them because they've got that talented backfield that I just mentioned a minute ago. I want you to expand on that, but also kind of talk about what they have around them on both sides of the ball that could really make them dangerous. Oddly enough, against a 7A team tonight, despite going down to 6A, they start the season with the 7A matchup there against Sparkman. So dangerous in this one, but also dangerous to compete for a region championship this year.
Absolutely. And that backfield, even with all the hype that Brock Bradley has come in that we saw him live up to last year, and obviously now riding a Clemson commitment as well. So big congratulations to Brock Bradley for that as well. But the backfield has really been the talk of town over the offseason. Yes, you lose Derek Shanks. You don't have the Shanks brothers backfield that worked so well for them. But coming up right behind him is CJ Cowley, a really, really entertaining running back who I think you guys are going to fall in love with throughout this year. He's shifty, speedy. He really brings an entirely new dimension to this offense. And
that's a guy I've been hearing about for a couple of years now. And I mean, when you saw his little flashes last year, you knew they were in for something special. And I can't wait to see. That's going to be such a good compliment with those two backs this year.
Absolutely. You have two backs who can kind of do different things. I think it really opens up a lot of different dimensions for the offense and the running game, especially when you think of Bradley, a bit more of a quarterback who wants to pass the ball, rely on his running backs to get those yards on the ground. I think that's definitely going to be key to help as well. Not saying Bradley can't use his legs, for sure. We saw that at times last season, but I think they're definitely going to tote the rock on the ground and try to get those hard yards that way as well, especially while some of these receivers kind of grow into their roles. I really do think that Bradley does help elevate his receivers around him. He is that kind of a quarterback. Mitchell Frazier and Jackson Haygood looking to be two of those receivers, stepping up to new roles with Spain Park having to replace a couple of their big receiving targets from last year. So I think that passing game, as weird as it is to say, with a quarterback like Brock Bradley returning, I'm interested to see their development as the season goes on. And we could see that tonight against a Sparkman team that's going to present a lot of opportunities for them to score early and often.
Yeah, you look at his Sparkman team, a team that started 5-0 last year, but had a big-time skid to close out the season with 5 straight losses. But you look, if Sparkman comes out like the team that started 5-0 last year, that's going to bode well for them, obviously, tonight. But I think Spain Park, last year they were so close. That Hoover game was really the ultimate deciding factor, and then missing out on the playoffs, and they dealt with some bad injuries in that game, including a season-ending one to one of their leading defensive linemen as well. And so that ultimately kept them out of the playoffs. They're hungry. They are so hungry this year, going down to 6A. They feel like this is their year to not only compete for the region championship, which I think they'll win, but also for a state championship in Class 6A with the way the bracket's going to unfold for them if they can win a region championship. I think they get to at least the quarterfinals of the playoffs. That's how talented they can be at the 6A level. The question mark becomes who's going to step up defensively and how's that offensive line going to look with some new receivers also. That offense can be so talented if you have a good offensive line and 1 or 2 receivers who can become game changers. If they find that, this team is, in my opinion, going to win a state championship. They've got to find it. Those 3 key areas, obviously defense is going to be as important as anything as a whole, but when you look at receiver and offensive line, if they can score points in a hurry, you're going to be in every game. Kind of like if you've got a good defense that's going to play lockdown D, you're going to be in every game, and you're going to give your offenses some chances. I think the offense this year is going to give Spain Park a chance to win just about every game. So how that defense comes along is going to be the fun aspect to watch. So that brings us to our first game of the week as we sit about 21 minutes from kickoff. So we're nearing the end of the show. We're going to break it down. Oak Mountain playing host to Briarwood, a great 280 rivalry game. This one's going to be a whole lot of fun tonight. Right before I jump in, I want to tell you about 3D Air Services again real quick. Jay Carr, our friend there at 3D Air Services, 205-664-3501, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com. As we head into these colder months, make sure your heat is tuned up and ready to go. You don't want to crank it on for the first time and have that heat not work or give that burning smell off as you turn it on. And we all know that we've got a couple of more warm months ahead of us too. So call Jay, 3D Air Services, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com to get ready for what's ahead with the changing of the seasons. So that brings us, Andrew, to our game of the week, and I want to start with the Briarwood quarterback position. What is going to be the decision tonight? What are we looking for there?
It's interesting because these two quarterbacks play really similarly according to Forrest, or at least operate within the offense similarly, but are completely different overall. Braden Robertson transferred into this team going into his senior year, and he's a bigger quarterback, one who you think would give a bigger, imposing, more athletic presence for them back there, maybe add some extra dimensions to their game as a dual threat possibly as well. And then you have Charles Dedman, a junior who's come in a little up through the system as well. He originally looked to be the next man up for them, a little smaller than Braden Robertson, but right now Forrester not really giving anything away in terms of that quarterback position. That could mean everything, that could mean nothing. It could either mean they have their mind made up and they don't want to share it, or we're going to figure out some things tonight as well.
Well, what is your opinion? What do you think is going to happen, just based on the experience level or the senior veteran laden quarterback that you've got? What's going to be the ultimate decision, or in your opinion, going into the game?
Now, I'll start this out by saying I haven't really seen much of either of these two quarterbacks since Josh Thompson played most of the season last year. I do think you would want to lean towards Braden Robertson for this, just because you get some of his experience coming in from elsewhere. You get a nice, big, athletic build that can help you out. Obviously, this is going to be a Briarwood offensive line that will still have some solid players back on it, some protection for him as well, but you'll want a durable quarterback to make it through the year, and I think that's really going to be what it comes down to. But Dedman definitely has some stuff going for him as well, having played in the system, been used to the receivers who are going to be coming up alongside him, kind of this another new generation coming up this year as upperclassmen. So we'll see what happens. I lean towards Robertson, but it's really anybody's guess at this point.
Well, on the other side of that, you look at Oak Mountain. They've got the experience at quarterback with Will Odell returning again this year. The weapons around him, that's what I want to talk about as we head into this matchup. What does the offensive line look like? What do the receivers look like? Running back, I think, is going to be pretty solid there. Talk about the offense around Will Odell and how he can move his game forward to a new level this season.
Yeah, Marty Myrick's will definitely be a good running back for them back there as well. You lose Cameron Meadows from last year, the guy who paired with him, but I think Myrick's is definitely in a good position to step up and take that lead back role more fully for himself. Obviously, we know what Will Odell can do in the passing game when he's able to get the opportunity, but the question is going to be whether he's going to get that opportunity, because you look at a really young offensive line that's going to have to learn really quick against a really good Briarwood defensive front. So these first few possessions are going to be really key to seeing how these players adjust to being thrown in here. It's a team that's got a little bit of momentum for the past few weeks. Played a half of a scrimmage on Eagle Day in front of all their fans in between the teams, and then traveled up to Oxford for the other half of a home-and-home jamboree deal that they had with the Yellow Jackets. So now it builds up towards this big rivalry showdown with Briarwood, and it's going to be a game that they're all going to be motivated to want to win. Just a stone's throw away from Lions Pride Stadium here at Erdmont Park. But I think it's going to come down to that offensive line, and then who can step up as a receiver. We're looking at Sean Ray as a good quarterback convert for them that can give them some speed. But other than that, we're looking at some players who are going to have to step up and fill some roles.
Yeah, you look at the stadium right now, Briarwood side full, Oak Mountain side almost full too. These two teams separated, and two schools separated by just a couple of miles. The stadium right here almost closer to Briarwood than it is to Oak Mountain High School. So the rivalry is going to be in full force. It's going to be a great battle to open the season at the 280 level. But as we hit about 16 minutes to kick off, national anthem's coming up, Andrew. Let's dive in and let's make our picks. I think it's ultimately going to come down to the quarterback position. One of the two quarterbacks at Briarwood or Will Odell, which one steps up, has the bigger game tonight. I think that ultimately decides who's going to win this one. And I think that Briarwood offensively on the offensive line is going to give a little bit more protection for whoever goes out as the starting quarterback. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think it's going to be a tight battle, not like the one we saw last year. I do think it'll be close, but I think we're going to see Briarwood's offensive front be the difference and give the quarterback there some time. And I think Briarwood wins this one. Andrew, what's your feeling about the game tonight?
I'll give it a few seconds once this anthem wraps up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you look at what we've got with Briarwood, defensively, offensively, going to be a team that grows throughout the season, going down to 5A. This is a team I think it's really going to be a good chance for them to win a state championship. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the Lions throughout the year. I do think Oak Mountain is going to be drastically improved this season with what they've got as well. So it's going to be fun to see these two battle it out tonight, because one of them's going to get some momentum and one of them's going to start with a little bit of doubt in their minds, and how they respond to that's going to be key moving forward throughout the rest of the season. So it's going to be incredible to see these two matchups. I think Andrew's anthem is done, so we're going to get his pick real quick, and then I'm going to listen to the anthem here in just a minute probably, but then we'll close down the show here in just a second.
Yeah, well, I built up a little bit of anticipation for my pick with that extra little bit of a pause, but I do think it's going to be Briarwood, and I think it comes down to the consistency for them on defense. This is a team that you can consistently rely on to attack the ball and be able to lock down some pretty talented teams. Even as a 5A team now playing against a Class 7A team like they will tonight, and I think that the difference is going to be up front. Kind of like I talked about earlier when I was talking about the Oak Mountain offensive line, you flip it over to the other end, Garrett Witherington and a really strong Briarwood front seven. I think it's going to cause some chaos up there for this team. It's going to come down to a lot of how Will Odell is able to deal with those pressure-filled situations, and he's gotten a lot of experience for that in those previous 2 seasons of starting Class 7A Region 3. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to be too many stops that this Briarwood team is able to get that it's going to ultimately allow this offense enough time to generate some momentum behind them, figure some things out, and walk away at the end of the day with a Lions win.
Yeah, it's going to be a great football game. I'm excited to see it unfold. Excited to see what we get from Spain Park and their offense tonight as well over there, just down the road at Jaguar Stadium. So that's it. We're set. The opening night of the 2024 high school football season. Sit back, relax, enjoy. If you're out, it's a beautiful night as the sun sets. The temperature's going down. It's going to be great out here for the opening night of the high school football season. Thanks again to our sponsors, Scooters Coffee, 3D Air Services, Consign Design. We're also going to mention throughout the season, so get to know their name as well, and Bertoloni's. It's going to be a great season. We appreciate you tuning in for this busy, action-packed show. Let's have some fun this year, y'all. Let's have some fun. It's going to be a great, great night. Can't wait to see how this one unfolds. Can't wait for you all to join along for the rest of the season. It's going to be a great ride, so buckle up. That's it for this one. Alongside Andrew Simonson, I am Alec Etheridge. Follow along on Twitter all night. You see our Twitter handles there, at Alec Etheridge SC, at Andrew T. Simonson. We're going to have stories, photos, everything you need on Twitter, on Facebook, on our website, ShelbyCountyReporter.com, after the game. So stay tuned for the rest of the night for all the great action ahead. And most importantly, enjoy your football Friday night.